So, the Pittsburgh Penguins have been busy, eh? Kyle Dubas picking up the phones, moving things around, sending guys across the country because the Penguins have just made 2 trades today that we are going to dive into. And for me personally, as a Vancouver Canucks fan, yeah, 1 or 2 of these assets definitely does hit close to home for me. Now, the trades actually did go down about an hour ago. I was at Rona. I was shopping for some personal project material. I had a very nice conversation with the attendant in the spray painting part of the store. So that's kind of where I was. And upon walking home, getting my 10,000 steps for the day in, I ended up seeing both of these trades that the Pittsburgh Penguins made. Firstly, this happened while I was at the store. Take a look at this. The Penguins and the Sharks, 2 animals that swim in the water, ended up making a trade involving Vinny Desharnais. The Penguins had acquired a 2028 5th-round pick from the Sharks in exchange for D-Man Desharnais. And you might be saying, wow, that is a pretty meh kind of move. I mean, you trade away a $2 million roster player in Desharnais for a 2028 5th-round pick? That pick's not even going to be used in 3 years. So what gives here? Is Vinny Desharnais really that bad? Yeah, he is. He's really bad. And for $2 million a year, you're getting a big guy, 6'7", 227, right-handed player. $2 million till the end of next season. I mean, he's a very expensive liability on the blue line, who only had 3 points in 34 Vancouver Canucks games this year. Now, in Pittsburgh, he scored 0 points in 10 games played. In San Jose, who knows what he's going to be able to do? I don't even know if he's going to get significant playing time. The San Jose Sharks do have some guys, younger guys, on their blue line, maybe not as big as Desharnais, but guys who have produced at some capacity, who have skill, and who might be able to become something in the future. I'm thinking about the Shakir Mukhamadullins. I'm thinking about Jack Thompson. These guys have been sort of in there, rotating around the bush here, and of course you have the other defensemen who have been a little bit more useful for the team. Cody Ceci, Mario Ferraro, Henry Thrun. Wallman, of course, has been a great addition for the San Jose Sharks team. I don't even know if Vinny Desharnais is going to be able to crack the San Jose Sharks lineup. He's that bad. And in Vancouver in particular, the guy was a decent penalty killer, but he couldn't move. He couldn't really defend the best. He was just a big guy who wanted to get some hits in, and he didn't even really do that well, to be honest. Desharnais certainly had the most value he had ever had as a member of the Oilers last year, where he had 11 points in 78 games played and also had an assist in 16 playoff games. By the end of that 23-24 run, I mean, he had played a game for Edmonton in the Stanley Cup Finals, but other than that, he was primarily outplayed by Philip Broberg. So you can see the tea leaves falling on Desharnais' departure from the Oilers organization. Then he gets traded from Vancouver to Pittsburgh. Then he gets traded from Pittsburgh over to San Jose. So the fact that Desharnais gets traded for just a 5th-round pick, yeah, that's about fair, really. Pittsburgh ended up getting Desharnais in the first place as just extra fodder in the Marcus Pettersson deal. But if they ultimately use the player and they're like, yeah, this guy's not really much, he's not really going to help us out in what we're trying to do here, then just send him away to a team that could potentially use him as a rebuilding squad and get a 5th-round pick in exchange. But the thing is, with Vinny Desharnais getting sent away from Pittsburgh, that all of a sudden opens the door for another spot on the right-handed D side. This is where trade number 2 comes in. The full deal on trade number 2 is Pittsburgh receiving Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak from the Nashville Predators in exchange for Michael Bunting and a 4th-round pick in 2026. This is the full breakdown as to how everything goes down. There you go. It was just tweeted out 14 minutes ago. Schenn and Novak to Pittsburgh in exchange for Bunting and a 4th. Michael Bunting has gotten traded one more time, ladies and gentlemen, over to a Nashville Predators team that Luke Schenn himself complained about, saying that they can't score. Why did Bunting go over to Nashville? Well, it's because the Preds can't score, and Bunting has 29 points in 58 games played. this season. Now, you can very well say that Bunting and the way that he has produced this year is not anywhere near he was producing last year. This season, he's on pace for about half a point a game. Last season, he was just under a point per game in his 21-game stint with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bunting, of course, was a near Rookie of the Year with the Toronto Maple Leafs, scoring 63 points in 79 total games played. The season after, he had declined, and then he needed a contract, and so they shipped him off Carolina. Then he was in Pittsburgh, and now he is a Nashville Predator. Bunting is 29 years old, which is great because he was just a Calder finalist like 2 or 3 years ago. When you consider the ages of how everything works, it is totally difficult to fully internalize that he did contend for the Calder, and he almost won it after all in that season against Moritz Seider. But Michael Bunting heading over to the Nashville Predators is a pretty big deal for a Predators squad that does need some extra scoring support. They're also getting a 4th-round draft pick, but heading over to Pittsburgh, you've got Luke Schenn, first and foremost, right-handed defenseman, 35-year-old guy. You talk about players in the age range of the Letangs, the Carlsons, the Malkins, the Crosbys. Luke Schenn is right in there. He's a right-handed D-man, and this season he has scored 5 points in 61 games played. He is on pace for 6 points. Now, that is, of course, a far cry from the 21-point campaign and only 55 games he had with the Vancouver Canucks 2 years ago, the second stint he had with Vancouver. But Luke Schenn, as a leader, a bona fide presence in that locker room, an immovable force on the blue line, a physical shutdown D-man, is a really interesting add, and somebody that I think is probably a little bit more trustworthy in my mind than Vinny Desharnais. In fact, I'd say very much so compared to Desharnais. Desharnais just totally was washed. Luke Schenn, I think, still does bring value, and you kind of have to ignore the points to do that because, of course, I mean, he's a shutdown D-man. What do you expect? He's not going to be able to score 20 points every single season, but Luke Schenn definitely does have that leadership X factor that does make him a valuable asset to any locker room. So seeing him head over to Pittsburgh, it's a pretty good and solid replacement for Vinny Desharnais and the profile he brings. Now, on to Tommy Novak, also heading over to Pittsburgh here. 27 years old, signed on till the end of 26-27, making $3.5 million a year. He's got 22 points in 52 games played with Nashville this season. He's on pace for 31 points. That is a decline from the 45-point season he had last year. I remember last year, Tommy Novak was a super underrated fantasy pickup. He was just hitting everything that moves and was scoring a whole bunch of points. He was a really versatile ad and a streaming option for a lot of these fantasy teams. So seeing Novak get included in this trade, pretty good for him to go to a team that's a lot better than Nashville, alongside of Luke Schenn, of course. And if you wanted to add everything together, this is what Elliot Friedman went out there and tweeted. Pittsburgh sends away Vinny Desharnais and Michael Bunting, and they end up receiving Tommy Novak, Luke Schenn, and a 2028 5th-round pick. Now, I do wonder if this means that Pittsburgh will go out there and try to acquire Brayden Schenn from the St. Louis Blues. That was already an idea floating around there that teams are interested in acquiring both of the Schenn brothers. One has already been moved. Will the other get sent over to Pittsburgh one more time? Will this just be a team of vets? Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Carlson, Schenn. I mean, it's possible. It certainly wouldn't be the first time this kind of a thing happened, but still, I did want to bring that conversation point up because I think it does go into the subconscious mind of a lot of hockey fans analyzing Pittsburgh and acknowledging that they did acquire one of the dual brother tandems that everybody's been thinking about on this trade market. So, Desharnais and Bunting out, Novak and Schenn in. I do think Schenn is a pretty big upgrade over Desharnais. Bunting and Novak, I think you could roughly equate them to being similar in terms of point production. I mean, last year, Novak had 45 points. This year, he's on pace for 31 points. Last year, Bunting had 19 points in 21 games, so under a point per game. This season, he's on pace for roughly a bit more than what Tommy Novak has been able to do. So a slight downgrade in terms of the forward, but a big upgrade on defense for Pittsburgh. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these two trades the Penguins made with the Predators and the Sharks. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.